First story, taken to another world. I remember lying down that night exhausted. The kind of tired where your body just gives up and your mind feels like it's about to shut down no matter what you tell it. I'd been running on empty for days. Work stress, restless thoughts, that nagging feeling something was just off. But I needed to sleep. Deep sleep. The kind that erases the noise even if only for a few hours. I closed my eyes, let the dark wash over me. And then I opened them again. Or at least I thought I did. But my body wouldn't move, no matter how hard I tried. Not a finger, not a toe, not even a twitch. I was completely paralyzed. Panic clawed at my chest. I swallowed hard, tried to call out, but no sound came. My eyes darted around, forced to move because everything else was frozen. And then I saw them, two enormous figures hovering inches from my face. Their skin was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Smooth, almost translucent, with a shimmer that caught the dim light and fractured it into subtle blues and grays. Their heads were bulbous and oversized compared to their slender, elongated bodies. Their eyes, massive, almond-shaped, deep black pools that swallowed the room's faint light, bored into me, unblinking, unwavering. Their long, slender arms ended in impossibly delicate fingers, moving slowly, almost hypnotically. The only sound in the room wasn't a voice. It was a low, rhythmic clicking, soft, almost like a purr, like a cat, but sharper, more mechanical. Purring clicks echoed in my ears, vibrating through the still air. Then, unexpectedly, I heard voices, not spoken words, not audible sounds, but thoughts, telepathic whispers inside my mind. Transport him. Without warning, I felt my body lift. The crushing weight that had pinned me to the bed vanished. I rose, floating upwards, through the ceiling, through the roof, past the stars themselves. Outside, the night sky stretched endlessly, unfamiliar stars blinking cold and distant. Then, looming above me, a massive ship. Its hull gleamed with harsh white light, enormous and humming with power beyond anything human. A circular doorway opened at the bottom center. A portal to somewhere. Not here. My heart thundered in my chest as terror flooded every fiber of my being. I felt myself drawn forward, pulled through the opening as panic surged, everything faded to black. When I woke, I was no longer in my bed. I was on a cold, metallic table, a table I couldn't move from. My head was heavy, but I could turn it slightly from side to side. My body? Frozen. The room pulsed with an unnatural light, walls that seemed alive, breathing softly. Organics mixed with technology in a symphony of alien design. Capsules lined the walls. Inside, bizarre creatures floated in translucent fluid. Some looked vaguely humanoid, others were nightmarish, incomprehensible. Strange instruments hummed and blinked, their purposes beyond my understanding. Then they appeared. Two of the beings from before approached. Up close, they were even more unsettling. Their smooth skins stretched taut over angular bones. Their eyes glimmered with cold intelligence. As they leaned in, streams of helpless tears ran down my cheeks. One raised a slender finger, flicking a beckoning gesture. To my horror, my body moved in sync, sitting upright without my will. They communicated in my mind again. "Why are you afraid, human?" Then another voice, calm and soothing, echoed inside me. Calm. Suddenly, the panic, the paranoia, the overwhelming anxiety, it all lifted. I felt an unfamiliar peace washing over me. Curiosity bubbled where fear had been moments before. "There is something you need to see," the voice said. Then a snap. Darkness again. I woke on the ship, but now it was landed. The doorway opened to a world unlike anything I had ever imagined. The sky was a swirl of lavender and gold. Two suns hung low on the horizon, casting elongated shadows over a landscape both alien and breathtaking. Crystal forests stretched as far as I could see, trees made of shimmering quartz, their branches tinkling softly in the breeze. Tall, gleaming spires of unknown minerals pierced the clouds. Rivers of liquid silver snaked silently through valleys. Beasts roamed the land, some with scales that glowed faintly, others with feathers bright as stained glass. Walking alongside me were my captors, or guides, as I would soon understand. They moved gracefully, their presence both intimidating and strangely comforting. As we journeyed, they shared the story of their world. Their technology was inseparable from nature, not dominating it. Their society was ancient, peaceful, and built on harmony. No hunger, no war, no pain. Their history stretched beyond human comprehension. And then the revelations. Humans, they said, were fledglings, blind to deeper cosmic truths. Aliens were not invaders. They were guardians. They unveiled secrets about life, consciousness, and existence that shattered everything I thought I knew. I felt my mind expand and shatter all at once. After what felt like an eternity of learning and exploring, I was returned to a room on the ship. Simple, comfortable. I lay down, my thoughts swirling, and drifted to sleep once more. When I woke again, I was in my own bed. The morning sun streamed through my window. Had it been a dream? Or had I really been taken? The memories were vivid, terrifying, and beautiful. And I knew one thing. Nothing, not a single thing, would ever be the same again. Second story, a trip to hell. I've always been a believer. At least that's what I tell myself. But if I'm honest, my faith has mostly been background noise, something I half ignore or file away until I need it. I pray when I'm scared or desperate, I nod when others talk about God, and I might drag myself to church on Christmas or Easter. But living it? Practicing it every day? Nah, I haven't done that. Not really. Life's been busy. Work, distractions, late nights, early mornings. I kept telling myself, I'll get to it. I'll pray more. I'll be better. But the truth? I just let the days slip by. My faith was something I talked about when convenient, not something that shaped me. One blazing hot afternoon after a long morning of running errands and answering emails, I felt exhausted. Not just tired, but bone-deep drained. The kind of tired where coffee doesn't help. So I decided to take a nap. A quick break in the middle of the day. Just close my eyes for a bit. Maybe 20, 30 minutes, tops. I laid down on the couch, the sun pouring in through the window. The air was heavy, thick, and still. My eyes shut easily, and before I knew it, I was asleep. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in my living room anymore. I was standing in a line. A long, endless line. Around me, people shuffled quietly, their faces drawn and pale. Some had tears in their eyes, others stared blankly ahead. The air smelled like smoke and ash, sharp and acrid, like burning paper and sulfur. And at the front of the line sat a figure on a throne. God. Or at least someone who looked like the God I'd heard about but never truly met. This God wasn't the warm, forgiving image from Sunday school. No gentle eyes here, no soft smile. This was a face carved from stone, ancient, powerful, and utterly unyielding. My chest tightened, my heart pounded like a drum in a war march. I tried to steady my breathing as I edged forward. When I finally stood before the throne, the silence was deafening. Then came the words. You are condemned. Condemned. The word hit me like a fist. I blinked, certain I'd misheard. Surely there had to be a mistake. Condemned, the voice echoed again. Because you lived half a life. Because you called on me only when you wanted something. Because your faith was shallow, your prayers hollow. I tried to speak, to plead, but my voice failed me. The line behind me shifted, and a pair of massive gates creaked open. A fiery maw yawned wide. Before I could turn back, I was pushed forward. I stepped through, and hell swallowed me whole. It wasn't just fire. It was a nightmare. Every fear I'd ever buried, every regret I'd ever ignored come alive. The sky was a sickening red, like blood mixed with rust. Black clouds swirled overhead, thick with smoke that stung my eyes. Rivers of molten lava snaked through the cracked earth, bubbling and snapping like angry beasts. Around me, shadowy figures writhed in agony, their screams tearing through the heavy air like knives. The ground beneath my feet was hot enough to burn through my shoes. But the worst part wasn't the heat. It was the loneliness. The crushing weight of isolation. No one spoke to me. No one acknowledged me. I was alone in a sea of torment. And worse still, I knew I belonged. I fell to my knees, tears burning trails down my soot-streaked face. I screamed. I begged. I called out, Jesus! Help me! Please! I didn't expect an answer. But then the flames before me parted. Light shone through the darkness, blinding and pure. And there he was. Jesus. Not the distant figure from stained glass windows. Not the vague presence I'd half believed in. No. This Jesus was alive, radiant, fierce. His eyes held all the love I'd been starving for. He stepped through the fire untouched, unburned. He reached down and took my hand, pulling me out of the abyss. I woke up gasping, sweat soaking my shirt, my heart hammering in my chest. Sunlight streamed through the window. For a moment, I lay still, trying to catch my breath. That dream, no, that experience changed me. Because it wasn't just a nightmare, it was a wake-up call. And now I'm done half believing. Third story, life at McDonald's. I was 17 when I got the job at McDonald's. Just a part-time gig, nothing fancy. I figured I'd make some extra cash, buy a few things I wanted, maybe save a little. That's all it was supposed to be. No big deal, right? The first day was a blur. The sizzle of the fryer, the sharp beep of the register, the endless parade of customers rushing in and out. The smell of grease and salt hung thick in the air, mixing with the fluorescent buzz of the overhead lights. My uniform felt stiff and awkward, but I wore it proudly. I was working, earning my own money. It felt good. But it didn't take long before the magic faded. After a few weeks, the routine settled in like a weight on my chest. Wake up early, put on the uniform, clock in, serve burgers and fries, deal with customers who couldn't care less about me, and clock out, just to do it all again the next day. I didn't complain, at least not out loud. But inside, I started to feel the edges of frustration creeping in. One day, I was wiping down tables when a woman slammed a tray down and snapped, "I don't have all day. Hurry up." I forced a smile and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll be right with you." She rolled her eyes and muttered something I couldn't catch, but I felt it like a punch. I looked around. My coworkers were used to it. They shrugged it off. I tried too, but it stuck. The supervisors weren't much better. They barked orders, monitored every move, pointed out every tiny mistake. "You're too slow. Watch the register. Pick up the pace." I nodded, swallowed the irritation, and worked harder. I thought, this is temporary. I'll move on. I have to. Breaks were the only reprieve. I'd escape to my car, sit with the windows down, trying to breathe through the exhaustion. Sometimes I closed my eyes, wishing the world would stop spinning just for a minute. It was during one of those breaks, hot summer day, sun beating down through the windshield, that everything changed. I shut my eyes for just a moment. When I opened them again, I was somewhere else. I was still sitting in my car, but the world felt different. The air was heavy, thick with a strange stillness. Then the images began. I saw myself behind the counter, same place, same uniform, but years older. Day after day, year after year. I watched the monotony, the angry customers, the barking supervisors, the endless hours with no end in sight. Around me, faces changed. Coworkers came and went. Some left, chasing bigger dreams. One became a doctor, working endless nights and studying through exhaustion. Another fought through law school and became a respected lawyer. One started a small company. Now it's worth millions. They came back years later, their kids in tow, visiting the McDonald's where we worked. Their eyes sparkled with memories. They were happy to see me, but shocked I was still there. I missed vacations, birthdays, weddings, events I couldn't afford, moments I lost. I saw her, my girlfriend, walk away because she wanted more. A home, a future, stability. Something I couldn't give her. Years later, she returned. With her husband, 2 kids, uncomfortable, surprised to see me still behind the counter. She glanced nervously, her eyes darting between me and her family. "Hey," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," I replied, forcing a smile. There was a heavy silence. Her husband looked around awkwardly, pulling her gently by the arm. The kids want ice cream," she mumbled, and they quickly moved on. I stood there, watching them go, feeling the sting of what could have been. I lived with my parents, trophies for Employee of the Year on the walls, but no pride in my eyes. The weight of it crushed me. I woke up gasping, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. It was just a dream, but it felt like a warning. Without hesitation, I stood up, threw open the car door, and marched right back inside the McDonald's. Clocking back in wasn't an option. I marched to the manager and quit. Right there, in the middle of the lunch rush. It was terrifying, but also freeing. I knew I couldn't live that life. Not that way. The days that followed were a blur of uncertainty and possibility. I took a chance on something new, starting a dropshipping business. It was hard, confusing, frustrating. Slowly, I learned. Slowly, I grew. 2 years later, my business is pulling in over $200,000 a month. I travel the world, places I only dreamed of before. I build a life with my wife, full of adventure, love, and purpose. Sometimes I see the tired eyes behind fast food counters and remember, and I hope with everything in me that they find their way out too. 4th story. I control my dreams. I've had this ability for as long as I can remember. The power to control my dreams. Sounds like a blessing, right? But it's complicated. Because while I can bend every corner of my dream world, craft it into whatever I want, a life I wish I had, people I miss, moments frozen in perfection, the real world is a different story. And the line between the two is getting thinner. I'm 28 years old, no job, no career, no ambitions that stick. To everyone else, I'm lazy. A man-child who'd rather sleep his life away than face the world. But to me, sleep isn't just rest. It's escape. It's a place where I'm powerful, loved, and alive. Where my father, gone for years, talks to me like he never left. Where I dance with the woman I love, a woman who doesn't even know I exist when I'm awake. Where I can shape the world around me with a thought. I remember the first time I realized I wasn't just dreaming. I was controlling it. I was maybe 12, lying in bed, frustrated with how boring and confusing the world was. So I closed my eyes, willed myself into a different place. Suddenly, I was standing on the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast ocean, the sky alive with swirling stars. I could feel the wind in my hair, smell the salt in the air. And then I jumped. I soared, free and weightless, and when I opened my eyes, I was still flying. That's when I knew I was different. As I got older, the dreams got more vivid, more real. I could call up anyone, anywhere. My dad, who died when I was 10, would sit beside me, telling stories like nothing had changed. I'd ask him questions I'd never dared in real life. Sometimes, we'd just sit quietly. Then there was her, the woman I want but can't have. In dreams, she laughs at my jokes, holds my hand, looks at me like I'm everything. She's my anchor, my home, my escape. But she's not real. Not here. Not outside my mind. Control means I can build perfect moments, but it doesn't mean I'm safe. Darkness stalks the edges of my dreams, shadowy figures that whisper doubt, anger, regret. They try to tear down the worlds I create. One night, as I prepared to marry her, the dreams crescendo, the shadows surged. I woke up in a panic, my heart hammering, sweat cold on my skin. Waking up is the worst part. Reality hits like a fist. No love waiting. No power. Just me, in my small, cluttered apartment. No job, no direction, just the endless loop of disappointment. My family thinks I'm broken. My mom barges in, yelling, "Get up! You can't live in your dreams forever." I try to explain, but they don't understand. They only see the lazy guy who sleeps all day. Each time they drag me out, it chips away at my dream world. After being woken from my wedding dream, the next time I slept, the woman was gone. She left me at the altar. Heartbroken. And I was alone. I begged her to listen, to believe me. But who believes a man talking about dreams like they're real? I sounded crazy. The dream world is both my sanctuary and my prison. I control the light and the dark, the joy and the pain. But the harder I cling to it, the more it fights back. Sometimes I wonder, if I could wake up and stay awake, would I even know who I am anymore?